Hi, I'm Nico and welcome to my channel. For today's video, I'll be sharing some of my scribing do's and don'ts. Before I start, I just want to remind you that I am no expert in scribing. I still have more things to learn. With that said, I do think that my scribing skills are at a level that I'm confident enough to share it on the internet. The things I'm gonna mention are from my own experiences, so it might not work for others, but hopefully you still find some of it useful. Number 1. Don't rush. This is something that even I have to remind myself. Most of us are busy with life, be it our studies or day job. We don't always have time for this hobby. But scribing takes a lot of time, and it's something that you can't do carelessly. Rushing your scribing doesn't produce good results. Personally, it's way better to finish even just one part than to have rushed one whole kit with not so good detailing. It's better to take your time and enjoy the process. The results will be much better. Number 2. Don't freehand. While it's not impossible, it definitely takes a lot of practice and skill to pull off. That's why I don't recommend freehand scribing, especially for beginners. It's better to use some kind of guide so there's less chance for mistakes. Existing panel lines can be scribed without using any guide because it's already deep enough that it acts as a guide for your scriber. Number 3. Don't apply too much pressure. Just like using a craft saw, you don't need to apply force when scribing. Too much pressure is hard to control. There's more chances of you slipping and making a mistake. You want to scrape off the plastic and not carve it in one go. Number 4. Avoid makeshift scribing tools. Like any hobby, the initial cost to start will always be high. I get that scribing tools can be expensive, but I think we should treat our tools as investments. You may be tempted to buy cheaper tools, but what's the point if you plan on building Gunpla for a while, and will end up replacing them anyways? So if you can, I suggest buying the proper tools. It doesn't have to be the BMC chisels, even I don't have those. Even the cheap scribing tools are better than makeshift tools. Number 5. Don't use stencils. Back when I first started, I also made my dad buy me all the scribing stencils, stuff that I didn't even use twice. I have nothing against stencils, but there's this misconception that you stick the stencil itself on the gunpla part and scribe with the stencil still on there. While that can work, I find that it does not really produce good results. The stencils are small enough as it is, so it's a challenge trying to tape it to the part properly without it moving about, and then attempt to scribe. What I recommend instead is to use the stencils as a guide for the design. Trace over it with a pencil, remove it, then scribe with guide tapes. The result is always better than using the stencil itself. Lastly, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning how to scribe. Everyone makes mistakes, even those that use expensive chisels, because pricey tools won't make you better. If you suck now, you will suck even with hundreds of dollars worth of tools. Now, don't let that deter you. We all start somewhere. It took me a while before I did my work good enough. Just keep trying until you find what works for you. Then it's practice, practice, and more practice. It doesn't need to be complex. It could just be a few lines. If you mess up, use putty or super glue. No one would ever know. Number 1. Do multiple light passes. Chisels are sharp for a reason. There's no need to put so much pressure. The only thing that's gonna do is chip your chisel and result in a not so clean line. The first few passes, I put almost no pressure to make a clean line, and it makes following the tape easier as well. Number 2. Use a guide, be it dymo tape, a metal steel ruler, a piece of flat plate, or a scribing guide tape. I really recommend using one, especially for beginners. It just makes scribing way easier. You get cleaner and better lines using a guide. It also prevents you from slipping and making a mistake. Number 3. Scribe one line at a time. I almost always mention this on my scribing tutorials because it's worth mentioning every time. Scribing one line at a time, especially in the first few passes, is key to getting sharp corners, so keep this in mind. Number 4. Hold the scriber vertically when turning a corner. Obviously, we want sharp corners every time we scribe. This is another thing that I do to help me achieve that. I mentioned scribing one line at a time, but after a few passes doing that, and it's deep enough, you can then scribe in one pass. However, you have to keep in mind that when you turn corners, hold the chisel almost vertical. That way, the corner will be sharp. If it is horizontal, the corner will round out. Number 5. Use a compass. Different modelers have different ways on how to do this. Some use a self-made template from Plaplate, or some just eyeball it. What I do is use a compass. Makes it a whole lot easier and less time consuming. I have a video about panel line symmetry if you're interested in that. Number 6. Scribe just past the edge of the part itself. If you start on the other side of the piece, you run the risk of damaging the edge with the scriber. Another thing to remember is that after scribing on one side, you should then scribe on the opposite side to even it out. And there you have it. Panel line scribing can be intimidating, but as long as you have the right tools and determination to learn, you're basically set to go. Just keep all these do's and don'ts in mind and start scribing away. That's it for today's video. I hope you find it useful. Do comment down below if you have any video suggestions you want me to make, be it detailing tutorials or painting tutorials. I'll do my best to share it with you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and watch my other videos.